Hello everyone, my name is Devin Adams. I am a FortiNet instructor at Dynamic Worldwide Training Consultants in Tempe, Arizona, and I record these videos for my participants, people who have taken my class, especially when they have particular questions or situations that they might want to see demoed. So I had someone ask me, hey Devin, I've been trying to implement this Central NAT and I want to do it through a VPN tunnel. And I'm just like, what? Why'd you want to do that? And I guess it makes sense once he explained the situation to me. So he has a remote customer, all right, and they need to create a VPN tunnel across the internet, but instead of giving out the private IP addresses of our whole entire private network over here, there's just 3 servers that they want to share, and they want to obscure the true private IP addresses and essentially do a destination NAT from the outside into these servers here. So from the remote customer side, it would simply look like it belongs to the 10.10.10 network, all right? But in reality, it's really a part of the 172.25.6 network, and that is kind of a network that is clustered off to the side over here, just for like a, like a server farm or something like that. So that makes sense. But I guess the challenge has been, when does that NAT really happen, right? Does it happen before the tunnel, after the tunnel, so on and so forth? And I said, hey, you know what? Challenge accepted. Let's try it out. And instead of just jumping right to creating the situation, I thought, you know what? It'd be a good time to review what Central NAT is and essentially how to turn it on. How is it different from our profile-based NAT, which is the default mode on the FortiGates itself. So that's kind of what we're going to begin with. So it's going to be multiple videos, all right? So this first one, we're just going to review NAT on the FortiGates and also enable Central NATs. And then we're going to go ahead and configure Central NAT and get it working like we had it before using profile-based NATing. And then after that, we'll do a site-to-site VPN connection, and then we'll go ahead and attempt to do those NATing rules once the VPN tunnel is up and running. So just going to take it in strides. Once again, guys, I am not a YouTuber. I appreciate the 1,000 subscribers I saw. Blown away by that, by the way. I didn't know so many people found these videos. But these videos can suck, so I don't blame you if they're kind of bad. So just bear with me, I'm trying to say. And yeah, so, but let's go ahead and review NATs, and let's go ahead and review what the default NAT looks like on the FortiGates, and also what happens when we turn on Central NAT. So in our topology here, for this video, I'm going to just focus on our internal side from the headquarters FortiGates. And in our lab environment, we make believe that the 10.200 numbers are publicly routable IP addresses, okay? We're just using them private here because we're using the real internets and didn't want to step on any toes here. So anyways, on our internal side though, we have private IP addresses, and obviously those cannot be routed out to the internet. So NATing comes in, where we can go ahead and swap out that private IP address with the public IP address and therefore get out to wherever we're going on the internet, and then it goes ahead and swaps back the IP addresses when it comes back to the gateway, and then it just lays it on the line like nothing happened. So now the default mode of the FortiGates is profile-based NATing. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and log into our FortiGates here. All right, and let's go ahead and take a look at the, let's see here, policy and objects, IP4 policy. So we have a basic internet access here, and this is going to be our local traffic going out to the internet. And let me go ahead and double click into this profile. And where NATing occurs is that we do our matching rules of our firewall policy, right? We hit the accept, and then to turn that on, we just bloop, turn it on right there. NAT is then going to be performed. Now, what is exactly being NATed? Well, on our profile-based firewall, we're going to go ahead and just use the outgoing interface of the WAN IP address. So in our case, the FortiGate has a public WAN IP address of 10.200.1.1. So what we would see, right, is if we were doing a session table grab here, let's say we're accessing this remote customer site over here, it would appear that all the traffic coming from my internal network all came from 10.200.1.1.1, but in reality, it's really because it's doing the natting. All right. Now, the big takeaway message here is the fact that the natting is defined on the firewall policy. So traffic hits the firewall policy, matching the rules, and then we go ahead and we apply NAT. That is the default behavior on the FortiGates. Let's see another example. All right. For another example, we have our server pool over here of servers that we use, and we have internet access for that service pool. Now, we did not want to use our WAN public IP address. Instead, we used a pool. So let's say that we got a block of IP addresses that are publicly being routed to us, right? And here I said, you know what? Go ahead, match the rules for this particular IP address rule, and then accept NAT, but instead of using the outgoing interface, I made this server public pool. And I'm just going to hover over here to kind of look at it. But the default type is overload, meaning one-to-many. PAT's pretty much enabled. And then it's going to use the IP addresses of 10.200.1.100 through 105. All right? And that way, I can see traffic differentiated from the outside world. If it's coming from my server side, it's going to be popped out of that range. If it's coming from my other set of addresses, it's going to use just the WAN IP address, and we can actually test this out. So, and by the way, to do that pool there, you just go over to our policy and objects, and we go to IP pools, and this is where we define the rules here. And I think I've done that before on another video, but just showing you where it came from. So, but if we go ahead and we just open up a terminal here, and I'm just going to do a ping to 8.8.8.8, too many octets. All right, there we go. And then I quickly, look at that latency. It's my test environment. Now, if I quickly go over here to my FortiView, and I go over to my live session table, okay, I have turned on NAT source so we could see what public IP addresses were being natted. And as you can see with the 8.8.8.8, because it was coming from one of my servers, it's using 10.200.1.103. Whereas my Linux machine that I'm on right now, okay, these look like a couple of DNS requests. I recognize the Fortinet's DNS. Anyways, it's just using the outgoing IP address of 10.200.1.1. So natting is in effect. The takeaway message here, though, is where was the natting defined? On the firewall policy. So, Central NAT's been around for a while on the FortiOS. It was fundamentally rewritten, I believe, in 5.4, maybe 5.6. Anyways, and what Central NAT does for us, if we have hundreds of firewall rules, maybe even thousands, depending on your size of the FortiGates, you know, keeping track of all the natting situation can be cumbersome. So instead of defining it on all the firewall policies, we go ahead and we let NAT be handled by a set of rules. So it's going to create a table for us, and that table is going to essentially, okay, give us one place to look at all of our natting across our entire VDOM or our entire FortiGates. So we don't have to go chasing firewall policies to see where NAT's going to be applied. All we do is create a table. It does a top-down rule kind of situation, so we're going to make sure we have, like, you know, the granularity there, being very specific. But to turn on central natting, okay, one, it's going to fundamentally change the way that you're used to doing natting. It takes a little bit of getting used to. But two, if you have any existing VIPs or virtual IP addresses, that's our DNAT going from the outside world in, you got to get rid of those. Those cannot be in use. Same thing with the IP pools, all right? So, and on top of that, when you first turn it on, if you don't have any natting rules, nothing happens. And when the private IP addresses hit that outside interface, they get dropped. So this is one of those things that you'd probably want to implement when you get it out of the box. And also, if you are going to transition to it, it's probably going to require, like, you know, some kind of project, some kind of rollout. You know, you're going to want to do a maintenance window, have everything, you know, very well tried and true and documented, because, you know, you just don't want to break your production. So now what's some of the advantages of the Central NAT on top of just having one place for all the rules? You also get some additional features on the FortiGate that are not available when you have profile based NATing involved, and one of them is also that application next generation firewall URL category matching that can happen at the firewall policy itself. So traditionally for application control or web filtering, we make profiles, and we take that profiles and we slap it onto a policy after the rules have been matched. Well, Central NAT allows us to essentially match traffic, application traffic, and web URLs before it even hits the firewall policies accept or deny. So there's a video on that buried somewhere in my playlist, but that's also another advantage. It kind of gives you more of that freedom of choosing what kind of inspection mode you want to do for your application control. So anyways, this is going on way too long. Let's go ahead and try to turn on our Central NAT, okay? And then we will see if it works, okay? So to turn it on, you're going to want to get into your console window, and there's several ways you can do that. I'm just going to pop up the site here, all right, to log in, because it is only configurable through the CLI to turn it on. So we're going to do a config system settings, all right, and then we're going to do a set Central NAT, and you can do a question mark here, by the way, if you want to see the different options, and we're going to do enable after that. All right, now, as you see, I did this on purpose. It's saying, hey, you know what, buddy, you can't do this because you have an actively used IP pool. And you're like, what? All right, so just showing you it's not going to work until you turn that off. So, excuse me, guys. So let's go ahead and close out this window for the time being, and let's go back into our firewall rules, and I'm just going to use the outgoing interface for the time being. So, and I did do that on purpose to show you guys you can't just toggle it on and off. It just does not work that way. So let's go ahead and come here. Let's open up our policy ID number 2, and let's go ahead and just use the outgoing interface. Now, I'm pretty sure that's enough to turn it on. I don't know if you have to delete the IP pool completely. I can't remember, so let's just try it again. All right. Okay, then we'll go ahead and do a commit, and it took it that time. All right, so what just happened? What's going on here? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh the GUI. Okay, it doesn't log you out or anything, but you're going to notice something in our firewall policies. Well, one, we now have Central NAT defined right here, and also NATing just says custom. And if I open up that bad boy, you're going to see that there's no longer an option to define NAT on the firewall policy. It's telling you to go to your central NATing policies instead. All right, but we still have our firewall rules just like before. And one of the big things you got to be careful about, okay, is, and let me go over to Central NAT to show you, there is no rules when you first turn it on. All right, now I know that in 5.6 there was a implicit outgoing WAN interface IP address that it would do if you did turn it on, and they removed that in 6. So if you do turn it on in 5.6 and it magically works, and that's just because that's behavior of FortiOS 5.6. They took that out in 6. And I'm going to log into one of my servers again, and I'm going to try to ping that 8.8.8.8, and let's see if it works. Oops. All right, 88 yowzes. All right, here we go. And as you can see, once we turn on Central NAT, guys, you break everything that requires NATing. So hey, you know what? Be careful with this, okay? Now, I'm going to end it there, all right? Just because I don't like these videos to last very long. But in the second video, we're going to go ahead and configure our central NATing, right? To essentially recreate what we had before using our profile-based NATing, all right? So once again, there's going to be many videos on the series here, but I'm going to try to do it tonight. And I'll see you guys next time, and let's see if we can't get our NATing to work. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot.